Oh my gosh. That one I blame on YouTube. Everything else was happening the way it was supposed to. Somebody is wonking me. Okay. Sorry about that. I violated my own rule. I started prepping about a half an hour ago or half an hour before showtime, and I brought up OBS, and it said, hey, there's an update available. If I had just 2 brain cells to rub together, I would have said, okay, I'll do that after the show. But I don't have 2 brain cells to roll together. Now what just happened? Oh, gotta hit the transition button. I'm learning to use this fool program. So, all right, let's see what's going on here. All right. We got stuff. Anyways, happy Thursday. This is Thursday, November 16th. And welcome to another ADRAMADA, which is another Dave Rush Ask Me Anything Digital Alchemy. And I am the aforementioned Dave Rush, your host for the next hour or so. It's going to be a fun show. I am excited. Hey, by the way, somebody let me know if my voice goes deep again with the change in the update in the OBS software. Who knows? Maybe that problem is solved. And if not, I do have a theory, and I was ready to try that theory, but the glitch prevented it. So we may have a way around. Anyway, we get together every Thursday and we talk tech and we talk computers and we do projects, and sometimes, okay, a lot of times they are computer-oriented projects. Tonight's is, but we go anywhere. So topics are wide-ranging because we celebrate technology on this show. We like everything from electric cars to electric guitars to from music and movies and the synergy of energy. We got some energy stuff today. Booting to computing, Linux to ethics, the chase to space. This is getting too long. I really shouldn't do this anymore, should I? Cyber to fiber, security to electricity, Raspberry Pi to Li-Fi and AI. And we're not afraid to delve into social topics, including religion, sex, politics, and COVID. Keep it clean, keep it fun. It is still No Shave November. The next time we see each other, it will be December. And you should be thinking about that. Wait a minute, there's another Thursday this month. Think about that. I'll get to it in a second. Per the opener picture, Bruno, better known to the world as Gentle Ben, ran for 60 episodes between 67 and 69. And the Howard boys, Ron Howard and Clint Howard, wrote a joint memoir, and they talked about their experiences growing up as child stars and all of that good stuff. And if you didn't know that, that was Clint Howard who played Mark on Gentle Ben. Gentle Ben was a series based on a book. I was looking for quotes from either Clint or from shows that he was on, and all that sort of came out. I learned a lot more about him today than I ever knew. There's a couple things we've always known about Clint Howard. He is not an attractive person. You may recall him from the days as a bald, basically a baby on Star Trek, where they had to dub all of his speech, and just an ugly baby, to everything that he did after Gentle Ben. But in Gentle Ben, he was a cute kid. I mean, he's got a couple of front teeth that look like you could eat corn through a picket fence with, but he's an amazing guy. I read a lot of his stuff today, and I got a lot more respect for him in the last 12 hours or so. Anyways, so they included some time in their book, some details about Clint working on Gentle Ben, and he spent a lot of time actually in the book talking about that. I'm going to read a little more about it over the next couple of days. One of the things he said, I'm going into the uncomfortable zone for me. The only negative, he said, working on the show and with Bruno the bear, was that Bruno smelled. And he also took, these are words straight from the book, he took prodigious dumps due to his equally prodigious diet. And just for a little more detail, because I thought this was really interesting. Enter Anthony Pelkey. Anthony Pelkey was the owner of Wisconsin's Chain Lake Deer Farm. And he had a lot more than deer, and including he raised Bruno from a cub. And a trainer from what would become Gentle Ben remembered hearing about Pelkey's farm, and they had deer and fox and other things besides Bruno on there. But Pelkey and the trainer go into the pen and hollered for the bear, who they called Smokey at the time. And this is now what Pelkey's son says, Ralph, because Mr. Pelkey has passed away. Ben opened his mouth, grabbed the trainer's hand in his mouth, and the trainer said, "Right there, I want that bear." And so Pelkey sold the bear to this trainer for $600, and he became Gentle Ben. All right, you've been thinking about the challenge? I will give you the answer next Thursday. Look, I might have missed one. Short memory, I think there might have been a time when I had to be on the road in the evening and couldn't do it because of where I was. But one possibility, I may have missed one show since we launched ADRAMADA in the first week of February. Next week will be my first conscious, on purpose, plan ahead, we're going to miss the show, because next Thursday here in the U.S. is Thanksgiving Day, a national holiday. I got family coming in, and much as I love you guys, and I love you guys dearly, eep-op orca, baby, I'm not going to prep a show. I've mostly got a show prepped for the next time we get together, which will be the week after that. So next Thursday, Thanksgiving Day in the U.S., a national holiday, and there will be no ADRAMADA. So you're free for the next 2 weeks to do as you see fit. Those of you watching on the archive, we have a Discord, and perhaps a Discord channel, and I invite you to join. It's very small right now. Get in on the ground floor and help us discuss and learn tech and talk about it with each other. There's all kinds of channels on there. So I've posted the invite to the Discord server in the chat. I've also posted my contact information should you be insane enough to wish to contact me. I'm drushtx@adramada.com, and my personal, regular, everyday, run-of-the-mill email, drushtx@yahoo.com. Let's do this. Well, that's not what I expected. But hopefully that'll work. Ah, yes. So today's project, I had one in mind, and I started doing it. I started working on it right after last week's show, and it was going great. And it will go great. It would go great. But we're not going to do it. It's long, it's involved, and in order to do it justice, I would have to do it over 3 episodes, and I really hate doing 2 episodes. Not going to do 3. So I have Linux Labs, not Linux, I have SE Linux Labs. Now, I showed you how to install SE Linux on, what did we do it on? Rocky Pi, probably, on a Raspberry Pi, on Rocky Linux on Raspberry Pi. And I will post, not today because I didn't put it in my notes today, but next time we get together, these labs, if you want to go and try this stuff yourself, it's wonderful. It's educational. It's fantastic. It's how to set up everything and how to set up the restrictions and the secondary layers and all that good stuff. It would be a wonderful hour-and-a-half show. You'd be bored to tears after an hour and a half. So I want you to try it on your own. So instead, after playing with it for about 2 days and finally, man, I hate that. I get 2 days in and I have what our old friend Mike used to call precious poop syndrome. Once it leaves my brain and winds up on paper or in a document or whatever, it's precious. It can't be deleted. So having to take all that and dump it and start over from scratch with something new, that's just painful to my heart. I'm almost over to that side. But it had to be done, and so just not loving this. Hang on. Let's go back to... Oh, I know how to do this. Okay, that's the way to do it. I have a little bit of face-to-face. Anyway, so all kinds of experimenting, gave it up, and said, you know what, I'm going to try something else. I'm going to install what's called a CRM package on a Linux system. What's CRM, you ask? I hate this acronym, this abbreviation, because in my old life, CRM was a daily fact of life. It stands for, in my world, Cockpit Resource Management. And that's as a pilot, whether you're a private pilot or an airline pilot or everything in between, it is your job to use effectively all of the resources at your disposal. Obviously, you have your instruments and your equipment and things like that. If you are a passenger pilot, you've got people in the back working for you. You got a first officer working for you, or you're working for the captain. You've got people on the ground you can talk to by radio. You got other pilots you can talk to. You got air traffic control. All of those things are resources that we can use. And so I live and loved, and it was bread and butter. It was life, CRM. Well, I'm talking to a friend of mine a little while back who is in sales, and they have a CRM tool that's very important to salespeople and other people, and it's called contact relationship management. And it's exactly what it sounds like. It starts with, hey, I just made a contact with somebody. Let's get an entry on them and get some information on them. Now I'm going to send this to them, and I'm going to document the fact that I did this and the dates that I did it, and they're going to respond to me. And all of that relationship transaction, plans of things you're going to do, things you've sent them, all of that stuff. So I was talking with this salesperson, and the salesperson who'd been using the same CRM package forever was very dissatisfied with it because it was the same. It never grew. It never changed. It was horribly outdated. And they've since moved on. So this person was talking to me about it not too awful long ago. And I never heard of CRM. It's not my part of the world in the way that they use this. So I asked questions. I want to learn about this. And what was so dissatisfying about this? And what would you like in it? And then I turned myself loose. This was a few weeks ago, to see if I could find a suitable package, and added my own criteria, right? I mean, it doesn't have to run on Linux. I don't care about that if it works and it's good, but I am the world's cheapest human, so I had to find something that was really cost effective. And I think I found something. I installed it, set it up, and we tested it together. We've been testing it for a couple of weeks. It's pretty cool. And so I thought, you know what? This is going to be a really nice thing that we can bring to ADRAMADA. So today's project, I'm going to show you how to install not just a CRM package, but a framework that holds modular packages, including CRM, and all of those ones on that picture I just had up a moment ago. I'll put that picture up again shortly. All right, so one more thing here then before we get into Tech News of the Week. So upcoming shows. We got today's show, the Odoo CRM on a Raspberry Pi. Next week, Thanksgiving. In no particular order, but this is my tentatively planned order. We're going to do Windows Sandbox. Hopefully we get Scott Jernigan in after that, first week of December. We're going to make a bootable ISO for Pixie booting. We're going to make the following week a Pixie boot server. And I still have that Linux operations on my calendar. I don't know where we're going to get to it, but that's kind of cool. All right, let's go talk about some other things then. Tech News in the Week. Now, before I do Tech News in the Week, let's see who's here and what everybody's got to say for being here, because y'all are so nice to join me, and I appreciate that more than you can possibly imagine. So Tulwood turns up an hour earlier than his usual insanely early. You got up early, my friend. Odoo. Did you look up Odoo? Because I didn't. Jason Helms, early. Way to go. Yeah, I know you guys are getting sick, right? Tulwood's got the sinus cold. Andre came down with pneumonia and is on antibiotics. And, of course, his near to his heart person wasn't Oksana, but one of the youth came down with something nasty not long ago. So don't breathe on your screens. I don't need that. Oh, stand by me. Nah, it wasn't OBS. I don't blame OBS on this one. Okay, I'm seen, I'm heard. Thank you. Seems like I've been doing a lot of booting lately. Okay. All right, we've got not too awful many folks here yet. Don't forget the fireworks. Oh, I'm interested in that. How do you make this darn heart thing go away or move? You just can't. I'm not getting the word fire. It looks like W-A and then everything else disappears. But whatever. The thing you suggested, I have that on my list as well. It's too far out in the future. So, but we will get to it. I like your idea. All right. Well, let's go do some news of the week. And we start with... Yeah. Okay. I can live. Can I live with that? Okay. That's working. All right. That looks like it's doing its thing. So, update on the Raspberry Pi 5. No update. Just got the power supply. The power supplies did arrive, but no word on the Pis themselves or the coolers. I did a project this week because I had to. And it was spectacular. This is on the list. Not on the one that I've announced, but we are going to do this. This is Rocky Linux running on a Raspberry Pi, and every Rocky Linux and other Red Hat derivative that I have ever installed has been a server. And what makes it a server is there is no graphical components to it. No GUI, no desktop. It's a command line world. But I had something to do this week that required that I use Rocky Linux. It did not require that I use a Raspberry Pi, but I had a reason for doing that. And it had to be graphical. I had to be able to do a meeting on it, a Zoom type meeting, a Google Meet. And so I took a day. No, it didn't take all day, but I put I put Genome, the GUI desktop environment on there, and then all the stuff necessary to pull this off. And man, it was fun. It was amazing. The whole point here was a technology demonstrator of Rocky, of Raspberry Pi, of the GUI capabilities of doing this. It was nothing but good. So we will be doing that as a project. It's a lot of fun. And yeah, the install, it takes a couple of minutes. The main software installation takes about 15 or 20 minutes. We can actually do this in real time on the show, and you can follow along. And I'm going to give you a week's heads up before we do that. I would like you to follow along with me. We can do that in person, face to face, and it'll be a really, really, really cool thing if you can do that. So I'll give you a heads up a week before and give you a refresher on how to install Rocky Linux on a Raspberry Pi. And this doesn't have to be a Raspberry Pi. You can do this in just about any, like do it in a virtual machine on an x86. The techniques are all the same. All right, more in the news tech. We're calling this story Fertile Regolith. Do you know the term regolith? Regolith is the surface material that you find on the moon or on Mars. It is different than soil in that there are no organic compounds in it. Much of the soil on Earth is composed of plant material, animal material, and are you ready for this? For structure and for content, worm castings. Okay, so the closest thing that we have to regolith on the Earth's surface is volcanic ash and related volcanic erupti or discharge, whatever. Okay, interesting, big deal. What's the point? Well, plants have to extract a variety of nutrients from soil in order to thrive. And if those nutrients don't exist, the plants can still grow through photosynthesis, perhaps hydroponically, though of course the resulting plants are much less robust than soil-grown plants. All right, what does all that have to do? It's a buildup. It is currently the plan of NASA and other international space agencies to put colonies on the moon. Long-term, short-term, whatever. And in order to do that, luniculture, like agriculture, is going to be a necessary staple. So among these zillions of research projects going on to address details like this, how are we going to eat? How are we going to get food? They are trying to find ways to minimize rocket payloads. We could send water up there and grow things hydroponically or aquaponically. We could send soil up, but man, that is challenging in so many ways. And that's, it's very, very, very expensive. About $1 million a pound to take something into orbit. So much more to take all the way to the moon. And for every pound of soil or water that you take up there, that's something more critical that doesn't get fit on the rocket. So scientists are working on how to take advantage of regolith to grow plants in. And the Chinese have come up with a marvelous step in the right direction. They've taken some of the closest simulated regolith on Earth, from volcanoes and from some other sources, and started growing stuff in them. And of course, they know what's in here. They've done plenty of chemical analysis, and we all know that there's lots and lots of things that plants need to thrive. One of them, the one that they're working on right now, is potassium. And the potassium that's locked into all of the minerals that we're experimenting with isn't soluble. It can't come out of the minerals, so the plants can't absorb it. So they've been trying to find things that they can add to this regolith to free up potassium and other nutrients. And they found the addition of 3 friendly bacteria. They tried a lot of different bacteria, but there was this marvelous combination of 3 friendly bacteria that dissolved the potassium out of the regolith, and the plants they thrived. They did very, very well compared to the ones in the control group that had nothing. So I thought that was interesting. That's technology. This is technology and politics. I like this one. Story: e-bikes becoming more and more popular, particularly in the village of Incline Village on the north shore of Lake Tahoe, Nevada. They've got this huge trail system. It's been paid for by a lot of federal dollars. They got another 8 miles under development. It's available to walkers and runners and cyclists to enjoy the scenery, and it leads to one of their big touristy places, the Sand Harbor State Park. Well, the city fathers and mothers, and I think a lot of them are being called mothers here, have created an ordinance that effectively bans e-bikes from bike paths. All right, I could do 20 minutes on this story. I'm not gonna, but I will add to this marvelous little piece of it all. Their police department just ordered 6 new e-bikes, and among the screaming complaints by the citizenry is, you're not going to let us ride on it? You guys can't use that. So it's a fun story. All right, back into pure tech. XMEMS. MEMS. Micro electromechanical systems. I made a MEMS microphone here once. It's really cool. It uses ultrasonics to activate. Well, they have used MEMS for 20 years as speaker buds. They're very, very expensive. Nobody buys them. And so everybody buys traditional speaker buds that have speakers in them. And speakers make sound by vibrating air, by pushing air and pulling air and vibrating it. But MEMS don't do that. They work in an ultrasonic range. And when you use it as a speaker or an earbud thing, you feel it from the ultrasonic waves. There's not air being pushed. And so they've come up with a new MEMS to make small speakers that are really, really, really loud by comparison to old MEMS and speakers. And of course, very controllable, 20 dB more. And this is the critical part of it, 20 dB more in the bass register. If you increase bass, alto, treble, all at the same rate, you hear the treble much more than you do the bass. And eventually the bass kind of gets washed out. So this thing has the ability to keep the power levels very high at the bass level, and it makes just an amazing set of earbuds. Look for them at your local Walmart soon. All right, a lot more to that story, but let's keep moving here. Deep Mind. Love this story. This is not Deep Blue from IBM. This is Deep Mind. This is, and that's one word. This is a supercomputer research outfit that, I don't know if it's wholly owned by Google or if they're on exclusive contract to Google, but basically it's Google's playground to mess around with supercomputing. And they also have their other playground to play with quantum computing. Well, what they did is they fed this computer and AI program all of the weather data going back to when? Did I post the date on that? A million years ago. way back. And then they said, now take a look at everything up to a given date and make a forecast on that, and then we'll compare it to what actually happened. This thing is cranking out 7-day forecasts that are at least as accurate as what has ever come out of all of the other stuff ever used, and it's doing it, 10-day forecasts in 60 seconds. I love weather, right? Okay, I live on that also as a pilot, and weather is never right in the forecast. They can blow it in 45 minutes. I've launched because the forecast says we can launch. Let's go to this destination. By the time we get to the destination, nope, we won't be landing because of weather. It's time to go find an alternate. So here's a chance either to improve it or to be able to blame the computer. Here's a new piece of policy. YouTube and a bunch of other platforms have and are adding new policy that says if any of the content that you're putting on here is generated by AI, they're not using the word any yet. They're saying if the content is generated by AI, you must label it as such. And there's a lot more questions than answers here, right? Does that mean the entire content? How does the label work? Does it have to be built into the content? You know, something reading across the bottom says this was generated by AI? What if there's partial? What if we just did a little bit of audio dubbing in this one area where, I'm replacing a misspoken word by Dave. Hey, AI, fix that. Use Dave's voice and change the word Kradowski into Plasowski, whatever. So lots of questions about what this policy means. And again, these aren't the only platform doing it. So I think that's kind of fun. We're just about done here. This is slide 8. Yeah, this is the last of the tech news of the week. How we doing? Okay, 35. This is a prototype. It is a floating solar-powered, it's not a filter. It takes water and, like an artificial leaf, generates water and hydrogen. But what makes this one different than everything else is all the other stuff that they've created with artificial leaves has to use pure water. This thing, according to the developers, you can dump in the filthiest, most polluted of rivers. Sorry, I'm getting a message here that says slow. I'm going to recycle. I'll be back in 20 seconds. Okay, hopefully we're back. Anyway, so you can put this in the Ganges River, and it supposedly makes clean drinking water and hydrogen. And again, it's very prototype, but cool stuff, huh? All right, that's tech for the week. All right, let's see what everybody had to say while I redid that nonsense. Vermiculite. I love the little white balls. Oh, yeah, right. So Jason wanted to talk about how to set up firewalls in Windows. It's not something we've ever really spent any reasonable amount of time on. Error, YouTube not receiving enough video to maintain smooth. Buffering. Okay, not me. I got a good connection everywhere all the time. So we're stuck with it. If it's really bad, we'll close down the show. Stop buffering. Buffering. Stop buffering. Whatever. I can't tell. I'm seeing an error message that says it should be buffering, but whatever it is, it is. All right, well, let's talk about show and see if we can get through it tonight. Oh, I got to mention this. We may not get to show tonight because there's important things we got to talk about. So I mentioned this on last week's show, and I've begun the research, and that is YouTube is ticking me off, and I don't want to use them as a streaming platform anymore, at least not as a primary, because of their ad blocker policy. I can't watch my own videos because they're I could turn off my ad blocker. Hey, we might be back. But I'm not going to do that. Right? That's my freedom. So I've spent some time in this last week researching streaming platforms. I've looked at total self-hosting, commercial sites, FOSS platforms, and I've got it narrowed down to 2. StreamYard, which is not free, but it's powerful and flexible. And yeah, ADRAMADA channel. And Owncast, which is FOSS. And that's what I'm leaning toward right now. So whatever I'm going to go to, it will be able to simulcast. So I will publish both links, the usual YouTube link. If you can or want to come to YouTube and watch the show, you will be able to do it there. And if you are joining my anti-YouTube stance, you'll be able to watch it through a link on Owncast. And by the way, you can find Owncast at owncast.online. All right, let's see if we can get through this thing. Tell you what, let's plan on running 5 to 10 minutes over, and do this all because we got cool stuff. So we're talking about a framework today called Odoo and modules that can be installed in Odoo. And let me give you a link for the basic tutorial how to install Odoo on our Pi. There it goes in all of its splendor. Okay, did that. So I'm doing this on a Raspberry Pi. It works great on all kinds of distros. You know me, I just like to do Raspberry Pi because it's Raspberry Pi. I'm doing it on a Raspberry Pi 4B with 4 gigs of RAM. I wrote down 8 gigs. It's only got 4. And a 16 gig micro USB. Again, if I were going to do this in the real world, it would be a 32 or a 64. I did a fresh install of Raspberry Pi OS, and I did not experiment early on in the week with the new Bookworm distro. But I did experiment with it on another system using the old Bullseye. So I installed Legacy Bullseye as the operating system, Raspberry Pi OS Bullseye. And that took about a half an hour, 40 minutes of my life to get that installed and tweaked and all that good stuff up and running. And that's it. It's a clean, shiny new install. So as with everything that you're ever going to do whenever you install anything, 4B or 2B, not 2B, thank you, 2B or not 2B, let's get Shakespearean. Scott's going to come in. If you type that wrong, he'd come in and join us. So the first thing we do, as with all Raspberry Pi or with all Linux things before we install any other software, is we do an update and an upgrade. Let me get you. Oh, this is so cool. Loving this. And keep my head in the game while I do demos. So I did a sudo apt update and a sudo apt upgrade just before the show started. So that's all good. So the first thing we're going to do is install a database, a SQL database program into our Pi. And we're going to use Postgres. Postgres. Never known how to pronounce that right. But sudo apt install PostgreSQL, and we'll do yes so it doesn't prompt us. This takes about 30 to 40 seconds. And once that's done, then we're going to give it some facts about where and how to install the Odoo package. Now, Odoo, again, it's a framework. It's a thing that says I can hold modules, and I'll give you a list of the modules, and you'll be able to select from them. It's really, really cool. You can do a sudo apt install Odoo-14 on Raspberry Pi Bullseye. The problem is it's version 14, and the live version is up to 16. In fact, I think they may even just switch to 17. Not 1,000% certain, but we'll give it a try. So let's go tell it, first of all, how to access the Odoo download site. We're going to say, go get the key and add this to the key ring. Buzz, buzz, grind, grind, all done. Okay. And now we're going to say, now that you've accessed, you know how to access the key, let's put it in the right file in our Raspberry Pi with this very long, complicated thing. Echo a bunch of stuff in single quotes. And then we're going to output it using sudo t, which means add this to an existing file. And this file is odoo.list. Boom, done. All right. And now we have to update our repository list to recognize this stuff. This takes about 3 minutes. Last time I did it, it took 3 minutes and 10 seconds. So we'll go buzz, buzz, grind, grind, and let that thing get started. Now, what Odoo does, and has is really kind of slick. Just bear with me here for a minute. I'll come back to head for a second. Zip, zip. All right. Odoo is a framework, and it's going to track all of his installed modules using this database program, this Postgre database program that we've installed. You can do this on a system that doesn't have a desktop. It's all done, the installation is all done command line, and then you don't do anything from the desktop. You access and manage everything from another computer via a browser. Now, you could also do it on the same computer with a browser. If you chose, you would just have to use a system with a desktop. And the system that I've installed does have a desktop, but I'm going to use a different system and go get it from there. How are we doing there? 58%. So our project is going to be basically done as soon as this install sudo apt update and sudo apt install Odoo. Yeah, he's going to get it from the new thing. So once that's done, we're going to head over to a browser. Let me bring up a browser. Brave browser window. And let's go to the settings on that. And we're going to go to... Oh, okay. We're going to do it this way. Fine. This is going to be odoopi.local:8089. Because also built into Odoo is a web server. And so I don't have to, on this Raspberry Pi, set up Apache or Nginx or Angie or any of those things. That's all done. And there's also a couple other things that you might normally install manually, like a PHP stack or something like that. Don't have to do that on any of this. All right, sorry, bear with me. I'm waiting it out. Progress is 44%. That 57%, that was all the download. Now we're at 44% of installation. And this does not require a reboot, I'm happy to say. Show outline, Odoo Pi, putty. Now we got to wait until we get the page up before we can do that. All right, well, while we're waiting, what else is going on here? So I tell you what's going to happen next. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to open up a browser and we're going to browse to that server. You could do it by its IP address if you know its IP address. I've got mine set up so that it recognizes a domain name. The name of the server is OdooPi, ODOOPI, and I have that on the .local domain. So I'm just going to open up a browser and say go to odoopi.local, and it doesn't use stock port 80. And the reason that it doesn't is in case on this system you have a traditional web server running on port 80, he says, that's cool, I can run on another port. And by default, he sets himself up to be running on port 8069, not 8089, 8069. Let's fix that. Bump, bump, 69. Okay, 99%. Don't you hate that about programs when they give you a percentage completion and they get to 100% and then they continue to sit there and crank for another minute or two or five? That just drives me spare. 99%. Okay, it's there. If you're at 99%, okay, it's done. Huzzah. All right, so let me get this thing talking. Okay, great. Now we share with you what's going on. So I've opened up a browser page to OdooPi local:8069. And this is what it shows. And what you're going to see here is what is essentially a setup screen. Okay, there's Odoo Brave. Great. Save that. Put this up on there. Stick my head in it. And here we go. So this is what we're going to use to complete the setup. And the first thing to notice here is this master password. Look at this warning here. Warning, Odoo Database Manager is not protected. To secure it, we've generated the following master password. I'm going to save that because that is the backdoor password that could save your life down the road if you ever needed that. So master password is not that one. That's for another system. And you could accept that generated master password. It's right there. Or you could set at this time your own master password. All right, now we're going to make the database. We've got the database program installed. Give it any name that makes you happy. I like Odoo. And this is going to be the login account. And use an email address. I'm going to use my usual personal one here, drushtx@yahoo.com. I'm going to set a password here. Oops. And you don't have to put in a phone number here, or a language, or a country. But now you need a language. And I'll put a country and make my life easy. Can I jump down to you here? United States. I am in the United States. And I'm not going to use demo data. And I'm just going to say create the database. So this completes the installation. And then we're actually going to be able to go to that same web address. But this time it's going to ask for login information. And yeah, it takes a minute. It says connecting. By the way, it takes about a minute. You don't have to relaunch. If this hangs or gives a timeout error, wait 1 minute and then just refresh the page. Buzz. Yeah. And on that tutorial page that I gave you, yay. No, I don't want to save this because I have a similar looking thing. There we go. All right, so this is what the Odoo login framework looks like. And there's a lot of settings in here. You can set up companies and logos. So I'm just going to log in as myself here. Because we're done. The installation is complete. The only thing we have to do now is check out the modules and add them. Did I remember to make initial caps on that first one? If it gags, it's because I forgot that, and we'll reset it. Yeah. Buzz. Grind. Okay, good. So these are some of the modules, and notice that some of them say activate with a little purple button on the left, and if it doesn't have that on the right, it says upgrade. Purple buttons are freebies. So there's a lot of free modules that you can add here. Not too awful many free premium ones, but there are some. So let us find... Oh, and there's all kinds of good stuff in here in the apps. How to set up accounts. Over here in apps, we have the settings menu. This is where you can add users and things like that. How you change company names. And once we get some modules installed, then we'll be able to access them through that apps menu. And sometimes when you install one app, it will install others. Some that you may or may not want, and you can always delete them. So over here, top row, third one across the top, we got CRM, tracks leads, close opportunities, things like that. So we're going to activate and buzz, grind. Once activated, it stays activated. You don't ever have to do this again. And the next time we log in, we won't see this screen. It'll take us straight to the apps that we have installed. In fact, it's going to take you straight to a shared communications app, a message board, something like that. like a Teams back channel or Slack or whatever your favorite thing like that is. And you can do audio, video sessions, group sessions, things like that. So we'll do that. I'll take that as soon as this installation is complete. I'll log us out and log us back in and show you that. We're going to finish this on time. I'm not going to run over other than the usual bye-bye type stuff. So we're done here as soon as this thing is done loading. Let me see if I'm missing anything from y'all, yins. Okay, nope, things are still moving along. I can check messages while we're waiting on that. You've not truly understood Shakespeare until you've heard it in the original Klingon. I got to refresh this page. It will have no impact on you. It only impacts me for some reason. Okay, so it's finished. And it's now taken us to the page that it takes you to when you're normally logged in, to an inbox. So there's a message inbox here, and we can open up direct messages and do all kinds of goodies, start a meeting. But let's go check out the CRM project. So here's CRM, and here's a whole bunch of other things that got added. Calendars, context, projects management, surveys. All of these are freebies, so pretty cool stuff. So we hit CRM, and here we go. Now I can generate a new contact, how I qualified them. You can color code them, what I want to do with them, opening bids. There's lots and lots and lots more on this page, and I'm not going to go through how to use CRM software with you, but it's so simple, right? All we did was install an operating system, update it, add a Postgres, database. Let's get over here. Install Odoo, log into it, final configuration, set a master password and a couple things like that, and then select a module that you want to install. So look, this is a salesperson's dream. It's free. It's powerful. It's flexible. All of those things that you saw, let's bring that back up, bring up it a little differently. Oh, come on, do this. There we go. I'm not going to put my head in this one. So all of these things that you saw, they are integrated with one another. So where sharing of information and data through that Odoo Postgres database makes sense, it does it. And that's just incredible. So I took this to my friend who was very upset about the package that they'd been using for 2 decades. And that person is very, very, very picky sometimes. But they checked it out. And of course, it's not a panacea. It's not perfect. But it's light years ahead of anything they were using in the past. The price is right. And for those other modules that they want, they're very inexpensive. So this Odoo is insanely popular. When I was out looking for CRM just to experiment with, long before I thought about doing this as a project, every list and every search that I did had Odoo at the top 1, 2, or 3. You know, some of them specialized in doing this, so Odoo came up number 2 or number 3. But by and large, as a popular CRM in the FOSS, the free and open source software environment, it is king of the hill. So I have not done what I've been promising for decades, and that is to put my notes and outlines online. So you can get all this information step by step through the article that I posted for you, and I will repost that right quick, so you can follow along from there. And if not, I've made some notes to it in my own thing that says, here's why we do this and here's what we do that. And if you're interested, just send me an email to any of the 2 usual emails. I'll repost them in just a second. And I will be glad to send you my notes. What are we doing here? We're going over to this program. Really, we are. That's it. All right, let's get 4 links up right there. Let's get the Discord link up one more time. Okay, here's the Discord invitation. Talk to me about it there. I can give you a lot more details and information and upload files and things like that on Discord. And here's my regular email addresses if you want to just contact me that way. Happy to do so. Somebody came on my Discord in the last day or so, asked me a couple of questions. I gave a couple answers, and they were questions and answers that might usually pop up on the other Discord server with which I am closely associated or was in the past. And then this person sent me a private message, and I don't care, I'll call you out. If you don't like Mike, why are you active on that server? And why don't you like Mike? And I said, I can't imagine what gave you the impression that I don't like Mike. My affection for Mike goes beyond a working relationship. I consider him a very close personal friend. I love what he does. I love what he makes. So anybody who confuses me with not liking the guy has confused me. All right. Hey, well, that's it, guys. Let's see if anybody's added anything to the fray before we close things out. What? Oh, Klingon Shakespeare, the link. Okay, yeah, that's a lot of fun. All right, we did that. I got one more slide to show. Let's do the one final slide. Not you. You. Boy, this thing is so dangerous. I hit buttons sometimes and things happen, and then wasn't even. If you hit the Windows button and the Home button, everything disappears off your desktop. But fortunately, if you hit that again, it all comes back right where it was. Because I was afraid I closed everything in existence. I meant to do that. There we go. Okay, so the last slide for the show. Upcoming shows. Again, don't hold me to these. I may do Jason's firewall show before then. I may do some other shows between then. But these are some of the ones on the list, and I definitely have 2 more on the list itching to go. I got the, the Rocky Linux doing Google Meet on a Raspberry. That's just cool. But so today we did Odoo CRM. We've got no show next week, next Thursday. Enjoy your time off without me. Sometime here, Scott should be ready to talk about his title, G's and You. We got the Windows Sandbox. We got making bootable ISOs. We've got making a Pixie boot server. Maybe we got Linux operations. I don't know. But we got fun stuff coming up this week. Final questions, last minute. This is your time to shine before we throw the big switch. Oh, man. Change systems. I don't know how to do what I'm doing. Boy, I made something unhappy. I don't know what. I can't bring my document to the forefront. Why not? Oh, well. We can do this without. What are these notes about? Yeah, okay. Oh, we got to do it this way. Up. Okay, we found it. And then we got to go over here. And my goodness. If I shrink that, how bad will that happen? Well, we'll find out. Well, everybody, I want you all to have a great 2 weeks off from me. And if you're in the States, enjoy your Thanksgiving. If you're outside the States, enjoy the next couple of weeks. We'll be back again on the last day of November or so, 14 days from now, November 30th. And until then, I wish you a great rest of this week. Take care of each other. Take serious steps to stay healthy. And if at all possible, call or visit your parents. And of course, never forget, technology is great, but the greatest resource we have are you and I. And with that, I bid you good night. I'll see you on the next ADRAMADA 2 Thursdays from now and on any other platforms that I'm on. Until then, remember, how you do anything is how you do everything. Eep, op, ork, ah. Later all.